Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us on today's webinar. We're going to get started in just another moment. Thank you. Good afternoon. Again, thank you for joining us on today's webinar. We're just going to give everyone maybe about 30 more seconds or so, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, hello and welcome. My name is Casey Murphy and I am ACT's Events and Programs Manager. I want to welcome all of you today as we kick off our first webinar of 2018 entitled Getting the Most Out of Your ACT Membership. Our presenters this afternoon will be David Strauss, ACT Executive Director, Beth Snow from The Ohio State University, and also ACT Membership Committee Chair, and Elizabeth Denton from Destination Sales and Marketing Group, and is the co-chair of our Professional Development Committee. Before we get started, I want to do a quick polling question for you. The question here, I'm going to pull it up now. How long have you been an ACT member? And if you guys just want to pop that in, take a look here. Close it out, give you about 10 more seconds here. I think the speakers just want to get an idea here. Okay, one more minute. Looks like most of you have voted. Excellent. Okay, we're going to share it up here on the screen for you so you guys can see. And yeah, little 40% there, 3+ years, good showing there. But we've got a wide mix, so that's great. Most of you are members, so that's awesome. Okay, so getting back here, let me close that here. Okay, go ahead and get started. Before we hear from our three speakers this afternoon, I wanted to quickly take care of a few housekeeping items. First of all attendees are on mute during this webinar. If you have a question or you have a problem hearing us, please hit the question mark sign to the left of your name and type in your question. I will do my best to answer your questions as the webinar gets going. Also, we will have a Q&A at the end of the webinar, but if you have a pressing question that you would like to have the speaker address during the presentations, please feel free to type it in the question section and we'll try to get it answered. Also, during the Q&A, please specify if you have a question for a particular speaker so we can make sure we get that addressed for you. Finally, this session is being recorded and I will have the recording up on the ACT website within 24 hours after the presentation ends. And now I'd like to go ahead and introduce you to David Strauss, ACT Executive Director.
All righty, thank you, Casey. Good afternoon and welcome, everyone. I apologize, I'm a bit under the weather, so my speaking role will be limited, and Casey will actually be taking on most of my slides today. But I wanted to welcome everyone. We had a great response to this webinar, which is really focused on ACT and making the most out of your membership in the association. As we saw in the poll, many of you have been members of ACT for fewer than 3 years, and you've joined us during a time of really unprecedented growth for the organization. I think we've added close to 200 new members in the last 2 years, so it's exciting. We wanted to spend some time letting you know about how you can make the most out of your membership and what ACT has to offer you. As a member association, we really rely on the commitment and the volunteerism of our members to help us achieve our mission, and your participation in today's webinar is a great first step if you haven't been involved in any of our activities to date. ACT is a wonderful organization for individuals who are interested in making an impact in TDM and growing themselves professionally. And over the course of the next hour, you'll get an overview of how ACT works, the benefits of ACT membership, and how you can get involved. And I want to just quickly thank Beth Snoke and Elizabeth Denton for helping pull together today's webinar and for their leadership on the committees that they work on, as well as Casey, our events and program manager, for all the work that she does and for covering me today. And I will turn it back over to Casey.
Thank you, David. And I'll try to handle David's slides as best I can for all of you right now. Just to kind of give you a quick overview before our other presenters speak today. ACT is growing. We're really reaching out to a wider and broader audience. As you can see, we have about 875 members, and I know that number is growing and closer to 900 even in the last couple of weeks. So we're really getting our reach out there with 300 plus organizations that are members. We have 12 chapters that span across the country, 6 councils, and we have about 5 national events we do a year, plus our webinars, which is huge growth for us, something that, the last couple of years we've been adding on events. And as you can see, we're one of the leading advocates on Capitol Hill. We'll be doing a fly-in this year, and we'll get into that a little bit during Infrastructure Week. And also a voice for emerging mobility. As you guys may have seen, we are now hosting an Emerging Mobility Summit this coming April. April 24th and 25th, and we're really trying to extend our reach to places that ACT really hasn't gone before. So we're very excited about what we're starting to accomplish. And basically, as we've talked about before, our vision is a better journey for everyone. We want to help you guys in any way we can, and we're always here to help. And our ACT's mission is to strive to get the most out of transportation system by empowering the people, places, and organizations working to advance TDM in order to improve quality of life of commuters and enhancing the livability of communities, as well as supporting the economic growth. So the goals for ACT, basically, and as David kind of mentioned earlier as well, we're trying here to create a community of TDM professionals, through these webinars and other events we're doing and the networking events at our conferences. We're really trying to bring people together to generate more ideas, help solve problems, and it seems to be working, and we're trying to be the home base, per se, for that. Other goals here are becoming a center for learning and professional development. Again, as we'll get into that later on this call, ACT is putting together some great professional development activities for people to get more involved and to grow themselves within the TDM industry. As well, from a learning perspective, certification, as we'll get into just a little bit. ACT is unveiling their own first certification, and for us, I think that will be a huge help for those of you who are willing and wanting to advance your career in the TDM profession. So let me just move on here to the next slide. Real quickly, ACT National Leadership. These are executive leadership, our officers. Rob Henry is our president. Vice President is Connie McGee with Enterprise Rideshare. Luana Huber with the Walt Disney Company is the secretary. David Master, TA of Harris County, Texas, is our treasurer, and the parliamentarian is Peggy Schwartz with North Bethesda TMD. Those are our executive committee. We have 8 at-large directors that you can see here that run on a, I think, 2-year term. Correct me if I'm wrong, David. And then as well as a chapter directors, we have representation from each chapter that is on our board of directors, and you can see them all here. With the exception of the Sacramento Valley chapter, we do have a vacancy there. ACT National staff, the last 2 years, ACT has been fortunate now to have a staff on board. You guys were all introduced to David, our executive director. I am your events and programs manager, and Candace Paris is our membership and communications coordinator for the association. Real quickly too, we have 6 committees that we work hard in developing content and material to try to further grow the association. We have a conference planning committee chaired by Maureen Farrell of GVF, marketing communications committee with Jude Miller at Marriott International, membership committee with Beth Snoke, who you'll hear in a second, and professional development co-chairs are Jim Barr, University of Vermont, and Elizabeth Denton. Public policy chair is John Martz from Enterprise Rideshare, and sponsorship David Judd with Commuter Benefit Solutions. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Beth Snoke, Director of the Ohio State University Transportation and Traffic Management. Beth has over 29 years of experience in both operations and administration in the transportation and parking field. For the past 28 years, Beth has worked for the Ohio State University and currently serves as Director of OSU Transportation and Traffic Management. In her current position, Beth has oversight responsibility for the campus area bus service, vehicle maintenance and fleet, traffic management, parking contract management, and OSU Wexner Medical Center valet and transportation services. Beth provides leadership, planning, and management in executing campus-wide special events, construction activities, and sustainability initiatives as related to traffic, transportation, and parking. Beth has served as a member of several peer review teams for other universities, and she is an active member for the Association of Commuter Transportation, International Parking Institute, and Big Ten and Midwestern Universities Transportation and Parking Association, Campus Parking and Transportation Association, and Municipal Equipment Maintenance Association. She completed IPI's Certified Administrator of Public Parking certification program in 2001 and currently serves as a national board member and membership committee chair for ACT. Please join me in welcoming Beth Snow.
Thank you, Casey. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to talk to you about membership in ACT. As Casey described in my bio, I've been associated with parking for years and was an active member in IPI and went on to get my Certified Administrator of Public Parking. And then my focus at the university changed. I originally hired in transportation, went to the parking side, and now I'm back in transportation, which is my true love anyway. So I was looking for that organization that I could really spend time growing in and getting up to speed in transportation since I'd been out of it for a few years. And so my focus turned to ACT. I had heard about ACT and decided to attend. I believe the San Antonio conference was my first conference, and have been a member and very active in ACT ever since then because I got so much out of it. And so I do want to talk to you about membership. I am the current membership committee chair. And as you can see from the various types of membership availability through ACT, there are several categories. Organizational, one price gets the first 2 members $575 a year, and then there are a couple of tiers for pricing for additional members from the same organization. Some organizations are very large and have multiple members join from across the country. Others, it could be 1 or 2 people. So it all works, and it all works together. We have a self-employed category, and I'm excited about the student category. I hope to open that up to some of our students at The Ohio State University. And then a new category, new in 2017, is the retiree category. And I checked, and currently we have 7 retiree members, and I will be joining them sooner than later, I'm afraid. But very excited about that opportunity for those of us in the profession to keep active in what we love to do. Next slide, please. So as Casey touched on, we've had a rapid growth in membership. In fact, the last report I got, we were up to 884 members, and we got 3 new additional members this morning. So it's growing, and it's growing very rapidly, which is a great thing. We have 300 plus organizational members, 100 plus new organizations in those last 2 years, some of which are mentioned at the bottom of the slide. And then we've seen that 28% increase since 2015. This is actually my favorite slide. I love this slide because it breaks down membership by sector. And what stood out to me and Elizabeth as we were talking about this presentation is look how even within a couple percentage points of each other, most of the categories of membership are very close in percentage. Whether you're in city government, consultant, higher ed, TMA, transportation authority, university, whatever, everyone's very close. It's closely distributed, which shows a very diverse membership, which makes us all better as far as I'm concerned. So I think that's a really key factor that ACT has, is the fact that our membership is so diverse and well represented. Next slide, please. As Casey mentioned, we have 12 ACT chapters. You can see them on the map. I happen to be in the Midwest chapter, which is number 8, which is 12 states, which is a large area to cover. So while some chapters may be able to get together socially during a month, during a quarter, during a year, some of the larger chapters do have a little bit bigger issue getting together in person. But what we found is, and I know Red River has done this as well, we've been able to kind of piggyback on some other local organizations' events and host an ACT seminar with that event, and that has seemed to work out very well. And I've already had someone from another association in Indiana reach out to me about coming there and talking about ACT. So very excited about that, and that's just going to keep happening, as you see. So some associations will have these events, and we have a membership call every other month. And some of the events are really neat, how the local chapters bring members together and recruit new members. And then others have stories to share about how they get the word out in their newsletters and such. So it's very, while we may be spread out, we seem to do well with getting our members together and keeping them informed. ACT chapters, the function and responsibility, it meets the needs and concerns of members on a regional or local basis. While I tend to believe that the issues I may have here are pretty much representative around the country in different places, it's still good to have that regional ear to bounce your ideas and thoughts and issues off of. So that tends to work well with the local chapters. They serve as an extension of the national organization. We very closely watch what national does, take our guidance from national, and are ultimately responsible to national. Volunteer board of directors, the leadership is set up much like the national chapter, and we comply with all financial reporting as required. Next slide, please. Chapter leadership, as I mentioned, usually has a president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, public policy rep, and membership director. Other positions, you don't have to do this, but some take it upon themselves to elect a communications chair, events chair, that type of thing. So it's all dependent upon the chapter, but we do pretty much follow the same leadership protocol within the chapters. Each chapter is responsible for a work plan, an annual work plan. And what that does is it allows the chapter to lay out the activities and the events that they're going to host, or the initiatives that they have for the local chapter, and then report up to ACT National. It not only holds that chapter accountable to be active, but also lets National know what the chapter is doing. We publish chapter newsletters, and we also provide updates on social media. We can use the work plan to promote and grow membership, whether it's following up with people on the prospect list, or a challenge within your chapter, a contest to get more members that you might come in contact with on a daily basis. We support ACT National activities. Like I said, through advocacy, we attend the programs, and we provide scholarships to the events such as the Impact Leadership event, which Elizabeth will explain to you, and also to the national conference. And really, these leadership meetings and these communications with our members, they create and maintain a healthy and robust chapter. And then that just makes ACT as an organization that much better and stronger. The councils, we have our issue or sector based. You'll see that there's an employer council, sustainable real estate and development, telework, Transportation Management Association, TMA, University, and Vanpool. So there's a little bit there to touch everyone's area, kind of what was in the circle that we saw as it shows our membership. For example, an ACT Employer Council is an employer base for networking, sharing employee commute program, best practices, that type of thing. The Sustainable Real Estate and Development was formed to support ACT TDM professionals working in the LEED, green building development, and other sustainable efforts in the communities. Telework, which is one that I'm not real familiar with, addresses and shares information related to telework as an alternative form of commuting for today's evolving workforce, which I find very interesting and really kind of contributes to the goals that we all have to reduce the carbon footprint that we're putting out there by commuting to work. I know Casey and I were talking earlier about the snow, and I live quite a ways from my place of employment. She lives closer, but Boston had over 6 inches of snow this morning, and it makes that commute into an hour-and-a-half time commitment sitting in traffic. And I just think of, I had that the other day when we had snow in Columbus, so I think of all the work and the time we could get things done while we sit in traffic. And not only are we sitting in traffic, but because it's cold and we have to move a little bit at a time, we keep our cars running. So telework, I think, has a lot of validity, especially for the goals that we have today. Transportation Management Association addresses and shares information and best practices related to TMA, TMOs, including public-private partnerships, program evaluation, marketing best practices, and employer outreach. University Council, which I am a part of, addresses and shares information related to universities. We too are working with public-private partnerships. Land use is a big deal in universities. Parking management, alternative commute strategy, transit services, and then how can we be our communities, get them involved with university activities and vice versa? How can we partner with the cities that are around us to provide service for all the community? ACT's Vanpool Council addresses and shares information related to Vanpool programs, public-private partnerships, again, for the delivery of those services, contracting, customer services, and promotional issues, and any other topics that might come up as organizers of Vanpools. The role of the council is to provide focused networking discussion, like I just mentioned. These councils are broken down by area so that everyone in that council is basically working along the same lines and the same issues, the same programs, and it's a good way to share lessons learned, as well as here's what we're doing. Anyone have any ideas for us how we carry this to the next step? Really a great opportunity for that. We work together to develop programming for conferences. I know when I go to a conference, I have to prove that that conference is going to be relevant to what I do. So if I don't see anything in there about transportation or bike share, you look for what's relevant, and we try through the councils to make sure we're bringing relevant programming to the conferences. We shape and influence ACT public policy agenda with some of the programs that we work on, and guide, and we research and gather data to help along with the studies and with the white paper development that ACT does. The national committees are chaired by board members, and they're actually open to all. So while I am membership chair, those membership calls are open to any who would want to participate. Usually it's the membership director from a chapter, and also the president of the chapter may elect to also participate, but that's how we run those calls. Conference and planning, marketing and communications, professional development, public policy, and sponsorship. Many of the committees kind of overlap and collaborate and partner in the execution and planning of events and overall growth of the association. For example, we were at the Impact Leadership Program, and we actually, my group, the membership group, talked to Jude Miller's group, which is the marketing communications team. Part of growing membership is making sure you have very effective marketing and communications for ACT. And we don't want to go off as a membership committee and do our own communication when we think it should run all through the same group. So we were overlapping with marketing and communications in that case. And in the case where Elizabeth's group, the professional development committee, conference planning can use the Professional Development Committee to help organize first-timer socials and events, as well as traditional education sessions. So we make sure that we not only get new members, but we are, again, providing information that's pertinent to them and their membership.
And I'll just add in there, Beth, real quickly, if you don't mind. I'll just say that, you know, these are the committees that we're always looking for people to step in and help. And if you have ideas and ways to help grow the association, whether it's, you know, you have a marketing background or you have a public policy background, you know, these are where we really would love to see people getting involved.
I agree. I was ecstatic because through Impact Leadership, I got 3 new members to the membership committee, and they are so excited that they want to have a call, even off cycle, of the regular committee so that we can present ideas when we have the larger group call. So very enthusiastic, and we're always looking for new people to bring that energy to these committees and their efforts. Thank you, Casey.
Thank you. And now I'm going to go ahead and introduce to you Elizabeth Denton. Elizabeth is an experienced business development manager with over 10 years experience in customer service, client relations, and management, program strategies, education, outreach, transportation, demand management, community-based social marketing, behavior change, and emergency preparedness. Currently, she is the business development manager for Arlington Transportation Partners, TDM, for Schools program. She works closely with Arlington Public Schools leadership to encourage mode shift among the nearly 4,700 employees at 42 school locations throughout Arlington County. By engaging directly with school employees, Elizabeth has helped reduce the APS staff drive alone rate from 88% to 83% in 3 years, increased participation in the transportation benefits, and seen an overall growing awareness of TDM goals and strategies. ATP's school program was awarded Outstanding TDM Program by the Association for Commuter Transportation, Chesapeake Chapter in 2017. Elizabeth oversees the ACT Peer Advisory Leaders, the PALS Mentoring Program, and is a co-chair for the Professional Development Committee. She is a Green Classroom Professional certified by the Center for Green Schools, U.S. Green Building Council, and was named the ACT 2016 Emerging Leader. Elizabeth joined Destination Sales and Management Marketing Group with a wide range of experience, having both a bachelor's and master's degree in European history and 17 years experience in theatrical costuming. She takes her interest very seriously, having 4 bicycles, 3 sewing machines, and 3 rabbits. Please join me in welcoming Elizabeth Denton.
Thank you, Casey. Thank you, Beth and David, as well, for having me as part of this webinar. I think that I'm a good poster child for people who don't necessarily have a TDM background, or maybe a planning background or a transportation background, because I have done a lot of really different things. And I have been in ACT for 6 years. This summer will actually be my 7th conference, I believe. So I still consider myself relatively new, but the really awesome thing about ACT is that there are plenty of opportunities for anyone to jump in and get engaged and get involved, and that's what's happened to me. And that's why I'm kind of excited about this topic of professional development and getting more out of your membership. One of the things that is most exciting about the opportunities that ACT provides are the different events. So you can see here there's pictures from previous events, as well as some stuff that's coming up. And so I'm just going to kind of talk you through a little bit of ways that we develop the vibrant and growing organization that we have through our networking and learning at events. This in-person part is really important, I think. Okay, next slide, please.
Yep.
So the big one, of course, is the International Conference. And there's nothing really I can say about this conference that isn't on the screen. The thing that I really want to kind of highlight is the bottom 2, however, is the networking and the fun. So yes, we're there to learn. There's so much stuff that you can learn between the sessions, which are always extremely informative. The keynote speakers are always inspiring. And really just getting the opportunity to meet people that you may have only met through email or phone calls. The opportunity to go to your chapter meeting or a council meeting. There's always really great professional and recreational tours. And then just the networking. And it's just a really exciting experience to be able to catch up with long distance friends and make new friends. Okay, next, please. So the international conference is our big event, but it's not our only event. As you can see here, we also have a TDM forum, which is in November. It's a fairly new event that was added to give people another opportunity to meet in the fall to sort of counterbalance the spring policy events that take place. Also, these events kind of move around the country so that people have the opportunity, you know, if you work for an organization that doesn't have a big travel budget, maybe you can't go across country to go to it, but then maybe the fall or spring events are closer to you, and so you have the opportunity to do that. The TDM forum is actually a really cool event. Again, it's new, but there are awards that are done during that time period as well. The policy event this spring is going to be a fly-in, and it will be during Infrastructure Week, which is May 14th through 18th. That's a really interesting opportunity that I encourage you all to consider if you haven't ever done it before. Public policy is not my strong point with TDM, but I have been a couple of times to go meet with our local representatives and talk to them about TDM and how it helps their constituents. And it's always such a great learning experience. And frankly, even just being in the halls of Congress is a really cool experience. So that's actually a really great opportunity. Then the new event that we have this year is the Emerging Mobility Summit in April, taking place in Columbus, Ohio. This event is going to bring together experts, academics, entrepreneurs, community leaders, and more to dive into the challenges and opportunities that the industry faces right now. You know, how do we increase mobility, improve our quality of life? I think this will be really exciting. It'll be small discussion groups and hands-on, and then it'll conclude with a tour of Ohio State University, which Beth is in charge of. So if you want to add something else about that, Beth, feel free to jump in. But I think that's something definitely people should look into. And then the last thing, of course, are our webinars. It says 6 per year, but I think we're on track to have more like 8 or 10. And some of that
probably,
yeah, some of that will be kind of based on professional development stuff. Some of it will be general information. So just definitely keep an eye out for the emails and see what's coming up. Let's see. All right, next one. So in terms of professional development, I'm really excited about education, and there's so much that we can learn from each other to help the industry and to help ourselves. So I could probably talk about this forever, but I won't. So in a nutshell, there's the Impact Leadership program, which is brand new. It's so brand new that it just happened last week. It was a leadership and management retreat that we had 25 people applied for 18 positions. It was intended for members with 2 to 5 years of experience in TDM. And it was an opportunity to get together and do some leadership and management training, as it says there, as well as, again, networking. The PALS program is Peer Advisory Leaders. It is a mentoring program that we've been doing for the last couple of years. We sort of rebooted a previous mentoring attempt. And this is sort of it's a good opportunity for like a low level, not low level, what's the word I'm looking for? There's no cost to it. You volunteer, you ask to be a mentor or a mentee, and then you get paired up. And you can spend the September through June time period working with your mentor or mentee. Most of you are newish to ACT, so I'm going to assume that you're going to want to have a mentor as opposed to being a mentor. And there's a ton of people out there in the association who are great mentors. It's a little less structured, so it's kind of up to you what you want to do and how you want to work. And we kind of check in sometimes, and we try to do, mentoring specific, professional development specific webinars for you to help you out. we try to do recruiting at the conference in the summer, so then we can run it from, say, September, October through the following June, July period. So it's kind of an academic year mentoring program.
And Elizabeth, I would chime in and just say too that this is something, especially for those of you who have only been around for a year, less than a year, and it's very new to not only ACT but the TDM industry. Having a seasoned mentor is excellent. It's a great opportunity to have someone to talk to at some of these conferences, especially the international one, and just someone to guide you when questions. And we really try to pair you up with someone that kind of pairs nicely with what you do as a job or a profession. So I really would highly encourage you to sign up when we start the process again and be a part of it. It's a great thing.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll just add, I guess, I have really great mentors within my organization, but sometimes I like to talk to people outside of my organization and get their insight about different things. So you might be thinking, well, you need a mentor because my boss is really great, and that's fantastic. But I think it's good to have some outside perspective as well. So that's another reason to do it. Another program that we have is the ACT 40 Under 40. There are awards that recognize ACT members under the age of 40. Who create innovative and successful programs that lead to positive community change. It's an application process that will come out over the summer, Casey, or thereabouts.
In the late spring, yeah, we'll have the applications going out.
Okay, and then the winners are announced and awarded at the Fall TDM Summit. So that's another opportunity, if you are nominated to get to attend another event like that. And then the last one is a super, super short kind of mentoring opportunity, which is Conference Buddies. And this is really just, if you've never been to a conference before, you can request a buddy when you register, and then we will pair you up with somebody who's been multiple times, and they can help kind of walk you through the conference. So that means you can talk we'll pair you in advance, and you guys can talk in advance. You can make plans to meet up. You can have breakfast together. You can ask them anything from what session should I go to for my particular interest to really what's the dress code? Because I've gotten those questions before. So it's nice, especially if you are one or two of you from your organization coming, to have somebody else to kind of help walk you through it. So that's a really great opportunity. I encourage people to do that as well. The only commitment really is for the conference, but if you and your buddy, if you as the first timer really hit it off with your buddy, absolutely stay in touch with them. If you want to be an official PALS mentor with the two of you, let me know and we'll take care of that. And then there's always a new member reception Sunday night before the conference officially opens at the opening reception, and that's a good place for you guys to meet there as well. Okay, next slide. So I've mentioned our impact leadership that just happened. Like I said, it was just January 21st through the 23rd. We had 25 applicants for 18 spots, so it was actually really competitive this year. And the goal was to offer leadership and management training, and then to also provide instant engagement by being placed on committees there on the spot. And you heard Beth talk a little bit about how she and her group talked with the marketing communications group already, so they're already making connections and plans. We had a full day of management and leadership training with an outside consultant who also had everybody do a DISC assessment. It's a behavior-based assessment, sort of like Myers-Briggs. It's been around since the 20s, but it offers feedback on individual personal strengths and weaknesses, which is a good opportunity. These people will be paired up with mentors, and then they can share that information with their mentor and say, hey, this is what the assessment says. I really want to work on this. And then the committees that they were all assigned to is based on what their interest was, and then they will continue to work throughout the year with that committee. And then there's also, I kind of mentioned an ongoing mentoring program through this. This will be definitely more structured than the PALS mentoring. It's also a calendar year commitment, but because each person has a DISC assessment and they made a personal performance plan. And so there's a lot more structure that's built into that. So that's definitely something that I recommend you keep an eye out for the 2019 year. We'll, tweak some stuff and make some improvements because we're constantly growing and getting better. So very excited about that opportunity. Okay, next. So professional certification, this is also really exciting. It's something, as you see here, it was an original goal of the association. And we're finally actually getting closer to having this done. The certification will provide TDM practitioners like us with a common body of knowledge that we can just all know and learn the same thing. So far, they've created a bibliography with about 40 resources, which will guide our industry knowledge, even if it means we'll have a lot of homework as we're going through that. And I think the other thing that's really great about this is it'll raise awareness of TDM as a professional field. So being able to have that professional certification sort of says, yes, we're here, we're professional, and, take us seriously, right? So keep your eye on information for that coming up. Okay, and I think that's it for me. Moving on to the next slide. Public policy.
All right. Thanks, Elizabeth. One of the most important aspects of ACT is our focus on public policy, and there are several ways for you as a member to get involved and stay informed about issues that are impacting our industry nationally as well as your organizations locally. And want to just quickly go over some of those opportunities that are there for you to get engaged through ACT. So ACT's Public Policy Committee is a unique committee within the organization. It's actually made up of 18 voting members, and the voting members are recommended by each chapter and council, and then approved by the board of directors. And the committee itself is focused on reviewing legislative issues and making recommendations to the board on specific policy items, and then advancing ACT's policy agenda throughout the year. The committee itself meets monthly. As well, the committee hosts an informational briefing as a part of the meeting, and that briefing is open to all members to listen in and learn about the issues that ACT is or may choose to work on. So if you have a desire for expanding your knowledge and understanding of the various legislative and public policy issues that are taking place, I encourage you to participate in those public policy calls and the briefings. Information on those calls are typically the second Wednesday of each month, and you can register for them via the ACT website and typically through our monthly Connections newsletter or the public policy newsletter that goes out. There's typically a link in there to register for those. Our policy platform focuses on 4 broad topics. Those are focusing on people rather than vehicles. ACT and TDM is all about the fact that cars are not late to work, cars are not missing their children's sports activities. It's people that do, and that our policies should be focusing on the people and their movement versus movement of vehicles. Investing in new technologies, practices, and business models, and this goes hand in hand with our efforts to support emerging technologies. And how do we make sure that as we are providing all of these new technologies, that we are also achieving the goals of TDM and enabling greater access and mobility, while also improving congestion, improving air quality, and improving general quality of life. Integrating and leveraging all entities delivering transportation solutions, so bringing together the public sector, the private sector, to create the solutions that are out there, and placing a value on delivering the best solutions. really focusing on, the fact that, TDM from a dollar cost standpoint is really the most effective way of providing transportation solutions for commuters. Sorry, excuse me. Currently we've been heavily focused on the transportation fringe benefit, as many of you have seen and are seeing through tax reform. There were some impacts and changes to the transportation benefit. We will be continuing to focus on those and inform the membership about those impacts as we move into the year. But one of our most significant campaigns that we're currently undertaking is an effort to expand the use of transit benefit ordinances through cities and regions around the country, modeling them after ordinances in San Francisco and DC and New York, and working with communities to develop and adopt similar ordinances in their own region. This is an area where you as a member, if you are interested in trying to implement a transit benefit ordinance in your local community, I encourage you to reach out to myself or the Public Policy Committee to talk about how we can assist you in those efforts. And I think I'm going to have to end there. I want to echo everything that's been said throughout the day, and really emphasize the fact that if there is something that you are interested in doing as a member within ACT, we have the opportunity to try and help you do that. If you have a program idea, a social idea to bring people together within your community, I encourage you to reach out to your chapter and pitch the idea to them. If you are focused on a specific, topic, a van pool, a TMA, or autonomous vehicles, I would encourage you to reach out to a council. And if there isn't a council that's there right now, we are always able to create new councils. If we can gather enough folks to come together and do that. There's really endless opportunities out there for you to get engaged and to maximize the use of your membership, and I invite you to do that. And just remind you that I am always here to answer any questions, along with Casey and others on our staff, as well as our leadership. So I thank you for joining. I'll turn it back over to Casey.
Thank you, David. And I'll just let everyone know as well, too, if you are trying to figure out, where to go in this process and reaching out, and, well, who do I reach out to in my chapter? I don't know who that is, or same with the council. Send me an email. We'll also have it on the survey after, shoot me a note, let me know what you're interested in doing, and I will make sure we put you in touch with the right person, and make sure you get squared away and, speak with the people that you want to get in touch with and get going on your way to kind of getting more involved with us. But anyway, I want to also thank Beth and Elizabeth for their talks. We're going to open it up now to Q&A. If you guys have any questions or you want to know some more information, go ahead and type it in the question box, and we'll start getting some of them answered for you. I do have one here, and I think David and I can also help in answering this question after too, ladies, but we had a question from someone saying that for all these are for, some of these opportunities are for new TDM professionals. What opportunities are there for anyone who's seasoned? And she goes on to say some of us have been around for a while, but still want to learn more, especially, what's new in innovation and how we can stay cutting edge. What would you guys answer for someone like that?
Be a mentor. I mean, in all honesty, being a mentor doesn't mean you can't learn anything, right? Because we all have so much to learn from each other. And so maybe, you know, if you have a lot of experience in some aspect of TDM, you know, we can find somebody who wants to have a mentor, but that you can also learn about new stuff from. I mean, how many of us use Snapchat? I'm not really there yet, so that's something that I can learn from somebody. That's not really a TDM example, I realize, but you know, that's still an example. So, I mean, definitely volunteering to be a mentor, I think, is a really great opportunity.
Yeah, and I would echo that, but I think also just attending the various sessions and challenge yourself to attend a session that is not related to your particular field. Like if I go to a TMA or the telework, as I explained, all that would be new information for me, and I've done that, and it really helps me understand other folks in the industry and see another facet of what's available in our industry. Just helps you get a better understanding. So yes, while we've been in the industry for a while, there is a lot to learn, and you do that by challenging yourself to attend these conferences and go to a session that might not be up your alley, so to speak.
Yeah, and I would, if there are areas of specific interest, to share those with us so that we can look to build them into future programming. Within the conference breakout sessions, we're always looking at new innovative topics. Our Emerging Mobility Summit is a program that we're really focusing heavily on those folks that are more seasoned. It's going to feature small discussion groups to bring folks together to talk about very specific challenges facing TDM in emerging mobility, and to kind of discuss amongst a group of subject matter experts and peers, how do we overcome or address these issues together as an industry. So that would be a great event. And then certification, as we mentioned, is in development, and there's several steps that still need to be done before we get there, but is something that we hope all individuals, whether they're seasoned or newer, will be able to go and become certified TDM professionals.
Yeah, and I just to echo what everyone's saying too, I would just add, I don't think people realize sometimes when they join some of these councils or committees how much they get out of some of these talks, and just interacting with others and figuring out what this city is doing and what this organization is doing and this university. I mean, the networking aspect of it is really, even if you've been around for 10 years plus, you'll hear from people who've been around for a long time how much they get out of attending our events or being on some of these webinars or just on their local chapter calls. Some of the stuff that they can get out of that, it really is for everyone. So that's all I would add to that. Do have a question here. I don't know if this one might be for David, but is the Employer Council only for employers, or can agencies with employer TDM outreach programs join and learn from the council?
Technically, all of our councils are open to all members with an interest in those areas. I do know with the Employer Council, it is heavily focused on employers and provides them an opportunity to come together. But typically, all of our councils are open to all members. There are not restrictions.
I know in our agency, we have people who are in the Employer Council too, and we aren't an employer. We're there because we work with employers. So yes.
Cool. And then Elizabeth, I have someone here who said that she wants to learn more about how to sign up to mentor with the PALS program.
Fabulous. Can you give this person my email?
I will certainly, Andrea. I will give you Elizabeth's email, and we'll get you going. And I also got a note from Peter Williamson as well that he just registered as well, and so we'll get in touch with him about mentoring. So, yeah, we got a couple people going. Anyone else have any questions for the group? As I mentioned before, you will be getting a survey after the call. We'd love to get your feedback and what you would like to learn more about with ACT and how we can further help you in any way possible. Is there anything else our speakers or panelists, anyone wants to add before we end the call?
Just like to thank everyone for participating.
Yeah, thank you for your interest, definitely.
Oh wait, we actually do have we have a few more questions. I apologize. They just came on. If you guys want to stay on the line just one more second. We just got a question about what's the best way to find out about local events, like your local chapter events?
So on our website, we do try and post all the local chapter events on the ACT national calendar. So I would encourage you to review the national calendar. That's if the chapters notify us of the events, we get them up there. Most chapters do have communications that they will send out. Chapters are assigned by your where you live. So we provide each chapter with a list of their members on a quarterly basis. So you should get communications from them. If you haven't heard from your chapter, just let us know and we'll make sure that you're on their list and are getting notices of local events. One thing I should also note is ACT's membership database is also accessible through our website. And through that membership database, you can log in and edit your profile, and you can actually select the councils that you want to participate in. So if that's something that you can choose, and when you select your councils, the council leadership also gets a list of all their members that are on the council on a quarterly basis. So if you want to be able to get those notices, make sure that you go into your membership profile and select the councils that you want to participate in. As well, council meetings and activities are also on the national calendar.
And this, thank you, David. And this kind of answers that question already as well, but we did have a question, is there a contact list so that we can get in touch with the appropriate council head in order to join the calls?
So on our website, all councils have a page, all chapters have a page, and we do provide the leadership information for all of them on the website, usually their email address, so you can reach out to them through the website. If you're having trouble, just reach out to us.
Absolutely, and I'll make sure on the ACT website we'll provide Elizabeth and Beth's email, and you guys can find me as well or David and contact us anytime if you do have a question. We'll make sure that we get back to you right away. And again, on behalf of all the panelists today and everyone here at ACT, we thank you for being on the call. We look forward to working with you some more and helping to grow the association. Thank you again today.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.